web element methods. Till yesterday, we identified the web element. Now we are going to do action on that web element. So this is the syntax of a web element: browser reference, element identification, method name. So the action method, what action you want to do on the element. The first method is click method. So it is used to click on link, button, checkbox, list box, and radio buttons. So all these elements, if you want to do action, the only one method you need to use, click method. So the click method syntax is driver dot find element by dot locator value dot click method. The click is a void method. It doesn't return any value. That's why you don't need to store in a variable. And this is the web element. On the element, you are doing action, click action. Directly you can call the click method, or first identify the web element element name equal to driver dot find element by dot locator value, and then on this element you call this element in the next line element dot click, element dot send case. You can do multiple actions with this element. Here direct action, so you are not storing again in the any web element, and here we are storing in the web element. Then on that element variable you are calling the methods, right? So that you don't need to do so in this case. So when to use this format and when to use this format. So only one action you are doing on this web element, then go for this syntax, directly calling the method name on the web element. Otherwise, on the same element, you want to do multiple actions, then go for this syntax. First, store the web element in the variable, then that web element dot click, web element dot send case. So like this, multiple methods you want to call on this element, then you will prefer this syntax. That's our first method, click method. Click method is used to click on a link, button, checkbox, radio button, and list boxes. Second one is submit method. It is used to submit the buttons or on the forms. Basically, you want to submit on the forms. You'll go to Google and you'll type some value and you'll press enter key. That is called submission. So that submission, if you want to do, you can use submit method. Suppose your button is having type equal to submit attribute. Then also you can use this submit method for that button. When to use submit, I'm just giving a clarity here. Submit you can use only for buttons or forms, registration forms. But click is not like that. Click you can use for the radio button, checkbox, link, any button, any list box, you will use click only. Submit only for a few occasions, not every case. Okay, so the syntax of submit is driver dot find element by dot locator value dot submit method. Next one, send keys method. Send keys of value. So it is used to type the value in edit box. Send keys is used only for edit boxes. You want to type something, and you can use send keys method. Driver dot find element by dot locator value dot send keys of value. Okay, in this edit box, this send keys method will type this value. That's the meaning of that. See that example, driver dot find element by dot name, first name dot send keys. I'm just typing this value in this first name edit box. First one is the element. This is the element. On this element, this is the action method. So automatically WebDriver will go and do action on this element. Next, clear method. It clears the content in the edit box. Clears the content means already some text is there in the edit boxes. You want to clear the old content and you want to type new one. So if you want to clear, then you can call clear method. So driver dot find element by dot locator locate value dot clear method. So this is only for the edit boxes. This method and this method is for edit boxes. Even send keys also used to send the keyboard keys to web elements. Keyboard keys. You can send the keyboard keys also. I'll show you in the programs. So these are all the very famous methods regularly will use. Next, so we have seen for edit box you got a method. Wherever you are using edit box, what method we need to use? Send keys method. So if you want to clear the content, you need to use a clear method. If you want to submit the forms, you need to use submit method. If you want to click on checkbox radio button link, click method you have to use. So what are the method syntaxes? Click method syntax, driver dot find element by dot locator value dot click. What is the submit method syntax? Driver dot find element by dot locator value dot submit method. What is the send keys method? Driver dot find element by dot locator value of dot send keys of value. So clear method clears the content. That also driver dot find element by dot locator value of dot clear method. So this is the all four methods, very useful, regularly used methods. Now, so what left now? Drop down. How to select an option from drop down or from list box. So there are list of elements are there. You want to select. Then what is the code you need to use? So this is the code you need to write. First, identify the drop down and assign it to web element type variable. So web element, so drop down name equal to driver dot find element by dot locator value. So I'm identifying the drop down. Then second step, fetch all the drop down options using find elements API and tag name option tag and store in the list type collection. So read these steps very clearly given how to do what this line is doing. So list web element OPTS collection equal to drop down name reference dot find elements by dot tag name option tag. I already given these 2 lines of code already. Yesterday's class, I repeated that code. Then, so I have a collection. I can iterate them. So how to iterate them? You want to iterate, so you can use for each loop. For each loop is for bracket data type variable name colon collection name. So for what is the data type of this OPTS?
Web element.
Web element. Super. So in the angular brackets, whatever is there, that's the data type of the collection. So web element variable name colon collection name is OPTS. So then you want to print each drop down option text. So then you call print statement, then O represent the each option. O dot get text. That means O is the web element. Each option web element. That element text I want. So you need to call get text. Get text. So getter method. So that means it fetches the text of this element. What this method will do? Fetches the text of this element. So like that each element it will iterate. Now, but that is not our case, right? We need to select an option. If O dot get text is equal to your which option you want to select, that option you provide here. If this text is equals to this text, then you click on that O dot click method you call. So that means that element, that option you are clicking, then break statement. So that will select an option from drop down. So this is the how you can select an option from drop down or from list box. If there are list of elements are there, then also you can use this same code you can use. This is the one way to select an option from drop down or from list boxes. Same code you have to write. Next, select a class. How to select an option from drop down. So next thing is select class. So in the Selenium, there is a select class which is available in org.openqr.selenium.support.ui package. This select class is available. So select class, so available in the org.openqr.selenium.support.ui package. This package inside, they created this select class. So what is this select class? So select class is used to select an option or options from singular multi-selection dropdowns. You can select an option or options from singular multi-selection dropdowns. So model says select tag, providing helper methods to select and deselect options. So model says select tag, providing helper methods to select and deselect options. And what is the select tag? Why you need to use? Select class is providing ready-made methods. Ready-made methods it is providing. If you want to select or deselect, and this class provides so many methods. All are non-static methods. So how can you call non-static methods? One class non-static methods, how can you call?
The object reference.
We need to create an object, not object referencer. Without creating object, how can you get object reference? First, you have to create object for that class, and then object reference dot that method you have to call. So this is the process we need to follow. So let's see, first identify the dropdown. So identify the dropdown, assign it to a web element type variable. Web element dropdown name equal to driver dot find element by dot locator value. First, you have to identify which dropdown options you are selecting or deselecting. So that dropdown identified. Second step. So create an object for a select class. Select a class as a parameterized constructor. For this parameterized constructor, you have to pass web element. That is a dropdown you have to pass while creating object for select class. Select cell equal to new select dropdown name you have to pass. This is the dropdown you are identifying here. That dropdown web element you have to pass here. The first step is select an option from dropdown by label text. Select an option from dropdown by label text. So I want to select an option by label text. So how can you select? So the object reference dot select by visible text. In parenthesis, you have to pass an argument option text you have to pass. Second one, so let me show you again. What is option text? I don't know whether how many of you remembered. What is mean by option text?
The text under drop downs, options under the drop downs.
So there are option expand the select tag, and so you can see option text between the close option tag and open option tag. This is the option text. Can you see here where I am pointing? This is called option text or label text, we call this. This is the option text. Close option tag before, open option tag end part here. And in between that, the option text will be there. That is what I'm referring. So based on that, you want to select, call this method. If you want to select an option by value attribute, you can see here, value attribute is there. Option tag after value attribute is there. Based on this value attribute you want to select, then call this method select by value method. And third one, select an option by position. You want to select an option by position. Basically, all the options are ordered collection, ordered list of collections. So one by one, you want to select based on the order. So 0, 1, 2, 3 like that. You can call cell dot select by index, int index. You pass the index number. On that index, which option is there, it will select. These are the three methods we are going to use to select an option. Any one you can use. not necessarily all three. So one is by label text. Select by visible text method you have to call. If you want to select a value by attribute, then call cell.select by value and pass that value attribute. And cell.select by index. You want to select an option based on the index, you can call this method. So these are the three methods you will call. Then I want to fetch all the drop-down options. And previously we used find elements method, but here you don't need. So this select class is providing a straightforward method. So that returns a list web element. List web element OPTS equal to cell dot get options method you have to call. Get options method you have to call all the method, to call all the methods. And so selecting last option from drop down. See, this get options method will fetch all this drop down options and stores in this collection. Now I want to select the last option. You know collection. So collection dot size -1. If you do last element index, you will get. So index based method we have select by index method. On select by index, you pass the last element index, then last element will be selected. This is the interview question also. How can you select the last option from drop down? So you have to tell first these two steps first. Then this step you need to tell, fetching all the drop down options into collection. Then you call this method cell dot select by index, the collection name dot size -1 you have to do. So all these three steps you have to tell. Then only it is fulfilled. And they directly don't tell this. So you have to tell first, identify the drop down, create object for select class, then fetch all the drop down options into collection, then that call the select by index method and pass collection dot size -1 you have to call. So there's a selection and fetching all the drop down options. Now deselection. For example, if there is a multi-selection drop down is there. Multi-selection drop down means you can select one by one. All you can select multiple options. All will retain the selection. That's a multi-selection drop down. But in the single selection drop down, one you select and you are moving to other option, previous selection won't retain. That's a single selection drop down. But in the multi-selection drop down, you want to select multiple options, that is possible. So that is the multi-selection drop down. Now I selected multiple options. I want to deselect all of them at a time. Then you have a deselect all method. Cell dot deselect all. It will deselect all the selected options from that drop down. That's a deselect all. So no, it is not like that. I don't want to deselect all at a time, but I want to deselect based on the label. Then we have cell dot deselect by visible text and pass the label. Which label you want to deselect? Just call this method, it will deselect. You want to deselect an option by value attribute, then call this method cell dot deselect by value and value method. And you want to deselect an option by position, then call this method cell dot deselect by index, int index you pass. So that's how you can deselect the options. Fetch all the selected options from multi-selection drop down. So you want to fetch, so you selected 5 options. How can you get all that 5 options into collection? So this is the method, straightforward method they provided. List web element selected options collection equal to cell dot get all selected options. See the meaningful method they have given. Get all selected options. That means it is going to fetch selected options only, not unselected ones. How can you fetch the first selected option from drop down? So that returns a web element. So web element first selected option equal to cell dot get first selected option in out of multiple options, which one is selected first? You want to know. Then call this method get first selected option. Getter methods, you can observe getter methods are always a return type method. Okay, so next is multiple. Okay, whether this drop down is a multi-selection drop down or single selection drop down, you want to know. On that drop down object reference, you call the is multiple method. Based on that, if it returns true, you write a multi-selection drop down code. If it returns a false, you write a single selection drop down code. So that's is multiple concept. So this is all about select a class we can use to select an option. Mostly we'll use this one only to select a multi-selection drop-down option. And unexpected tag name exception, when element is not a selected tag. When element is not a selected tag, then you will get a select unexpected tag name exception. This process, this class, you can use only when there is a selected tag. If selected tag is not there, you should not use this select class and their methods. So then no such element exception you will get. If no matching option elements are found, then you will get a no such element exception. Suppose you have given some option, but that option is not there in the drop down, then you can use no such element exception. Okay, so this is all about select class. Any queries before going to the random option I want to select from drop down? How can you select a random option from drop down? The random options I want to select. So I don't want to select hard coded values. I want to select randomly. When I run my test case, I don't want to give any option. So that should be randomly it has to select. How can you do that? So this is the way to select. So how to select a random value from drop down using Selenium? So we need to select a random value from given drop down, and to test the functionality, so we have to use this is the approach. First, identify the drop down. Okay. Then second step, create an object for select class. Third step, fetch all the drop down options into collection. So list web element option list equal to cell dot get options method you have to call. Then all the drop down options you will get into list collection. Then fourth point, you get the index number. So int size equal to count. Number of elements are there in this drop down. Int count equal to the collection dot size method you call. Then to take the random of value in between the range, right? In between the collection means range rate 0 to size. And that range you want to select one random number, random option. If you want to select, you need to generate a random number. To generate the random number, we are using a Java class. That's a random class is there. So the random class is available in java.util package. This class has again non-static methods. That means instance methods are there in this class. So these are return type methods. That methods returns a value to you. So how to use that? Then these are the approaches I already told you. Identify the drop down, create object for select class, fetch all the drop down options and get the count. And then we have a random class and use its next int method. So next int method to generate the random number in a given range. In a given range, it generates the random number. Then one by one, it will generate and you pass that random number. Random number means index, right? It's index. So call the index based method. So index based method we have select by index method you call, then that will select. So that's the how to select a random number, random option from drop down. So here is the one. So random r equal to for loop I'm using for int I equal to 1, I less than 5, I plus plus. Random r equal to new random int random number equal to r dot next int method in this count only, in this collection count only. So within that range only you generate the random number. I'm telling for next int method. So it will generate the random number and giving it to storing in this variable. That variable I'm passing to select by index method the random number. So automatically the randomly that value will select. So if you want to get that selected random value, and you call get first selected option dot get text method. Get text method basically fetches the text of any element. So that's this get first selected option. So this is all the ways to do. This is the interview question also. How to select random options from drop down. Any questions before going for the next topic, that is return type methods. Now all these methods returns a value to you. All these methods returns a value from web element. So web element return type methods. Web element return type methods. So web element return type methods. First method is a get text method. It fetches the element text from web page and stores in a string type variable. So what is the return type of get text? It returns a string type data. String text equal to driver dot find element by dot locator value dot get text. So English meaning, if you know English meaning, is very, very easy. Get text. Get the text of this element. And this is a return type method. Returns a string type data. So first data type, that return type variable, and then driver dot find element by dot locator value dot get text. Next method, get attribute of attribute name. Get attribute of attribute name. So what are all the attributes?
Same ID, name, class, value, type. If title, alt.
Okay, these are the attributes, right? Those attribute values you want to get, then we are going to use get attribute of attribute name. So this all I have given in the first day class, web element theory and HTML concepts. So those I'm going to use here. If you want particular attribute value for that element, you call get attribute method. It fetches the given attribute value and stores in a string type variable. So the syntax is string val equal to driver dot find element by dot locator value dot get attribute of, within double quotes you pass attribute name, ID, name, class, title, href, src, alt, tab index, whatever the attribute value you want, just pass this attribute name there. Then automatically it will give you that attribute value and it will store here. How to fetch the tooltip of an element? First, you should know what is a tooltip. I already told a tooltip is available in the which attribute? Which attribute tooltip will be there? Title attribute. See that? This is the tooltip. See, all these elements are having tooltip. So all these elements are having tooltip. See that? This is the bigger tooltip, right? Right click, inspect. You can see in this, this is the highlighted portion. See, title attribute is there. So if the title attribute is there, that means that element has a tooltip. Title attribute is there, that element has a tooltip. So that you can call, how to call that? See this. So string tooltip equal to driver dot find element by dot locator value dot get attribute of title. Fixed code. Wherever you want a tooltip, this is the code. Everything ready-made code I'm giving, boilerplate code. Only change comes here only, locator and locator value. You don't need to touch this part if you want a tooltip. Okay. So next one. So how can you fetch the URL of the link? So URL of the link is available in which attribute?
href.
Href attribute. So just tell that call string URL equal to driver dot find element by dot locator value dot get attribute of href. Automatically, any link URL you will get it. So this part I'm going to use, everything I'm going to use in the main scenarios. So string, any link URL if you want, I need to call get attribute method on that link and pass href attribute. And I want to fetch the image source. First, you should know where this image source is available. And src attribute, you can get this source value. So string image source equal to driver dot find element by dot locator value dot get attribute of src. So get attribute, what is the purpose? Any attribute value if you want to fetch for particular element, and that element you call get attribute method, then pass the attribute name, then it will fetch that attribute value and stores in a variable. Next, third method, get a CSS value and CSS property. CSS values, what are all the CSS values? CSS is a cascade style sheet. It beautifies your elements and your web pages, like color, background color, size, and font family, font size. So all these are CSS property. That CSS property values, if you want to fetch for particular element, then you will use get CSS value method. Get CSS value method, what it will do? It fetches the particular element CSS properties. So you give the which CSS property value you want. I want to color of that element. How can you fetch that? I want to background color of that. I want font size of that. I want font family of that element. How can you fetch that? So this is the method will help us. Get CSS value method will help us. So string CSS value equal to driver dot get find element by dot locator value dot get the CSS value of CSS property. So this will give you given CSS property value and stores in a string type variable. So what are all the CSS properties? This is the one: font family, font size, letter hyphen spacing, line height, font weight, font style, letter spacing, text hyphen transform, color, text hyphen decoration. All these are CSS properties. Where you can find them? See that. This the styles is there, right? Styles. So the styles is the CSS properties. Can you see here a display and margin, color, position, text hyphen decoration, and these are all the CSS properties. Cursor, text align. So this is all say font family. See that font family, font size. So these values, if you want to get for any element, you need to call get CSS value method. And here is the example. Some of them I'm giving examples for that method also. How can you fetch the particular element color? String C equal to driver dot find element by dot locator value dot get CSS value of color. How can you find out the particular element is underlined or not? And string UD equal to driver dot find element by dot locator value dot get CSS value of text hyphen decoration. This is the property will tell you whether it is underlined or not. If it is not underlined, none option you will get to, none value for this text hyphen decoration. If it is underlined, text hyphen decoration value should be underline value will be there. And so like this you will get. This is the property name and the right side one is the value. Okay, so this is the example for CSS properties, code snippet for this get CSS value method. And the next one is get location. You want to know the size, position of your element, X and Y coordinate, position of your element. How can you get that? So we have a get location method. Particular element location you want to find out, then you can use get location method. So get location method is point P equal to driver dot find element by dot locator locate value dot get location method. This get location method returns a point object. That's why I'm writing a return type point P. So point is a class in the Selenium. Point is a class in the Selenium, and that point with X and Y coordinates will be storing in this P object reference. Now, if you want a X coordinate, call P dot get X method. And if you want Y coordinate, call P dot get Y method. All getter methods is going to return a value to you. Next, get size method. It fetches the height and width of the element. So dimension D equal to driver dot find element by dot locator locate value dot get size method. So this method returns a dimension object. So then you want to know height and width of this element height and width. You can see D dot get height, D dot get width method you can call. That's how can you fetch the height and width of any element. Then we have a get tag name method. So this get tag name method fetches the tag name of the element. Particular element tag name you want to know. Then you can use get tag name method. String tag equal to driver dot find element by dot locator locate value dot get tag name method you can call. So it returns a string element. String value it returns for us. So these are all the getter methods and to fetch the value of your elements. Any questions before going to the, there are few more methods, Boolean commands, all methods only. So they have given already ready-made methods. You just know how to call them. You can call these elements methods on the element only, not on the driver. So that's why I segregated, be clear. There are browser methods. Browser methods means only you can call on the driver object reference, like get method, get title method, get current URL method, get page source method, get window handle, get window handles, navigate method, switch to method. You can call on the directly on the web, the object reference, driver object reference. Even find element also you can call on the driver reference. But today we discussed web element methods. That means on the web element you can call these methods. So like click method you can call on the web element, not driver dot click. That's wrong. Driver dot find element by dot locator dot click method, dot send keys method, dot submit method, element dot submit, element dot click, element dot clear method. So these are all web element methods. Now all these return type methods also. Web element dot get text, web element dot get attribute, web element dot get CSS value, web element dot get location, web element dot get size, web element dot get tag name. But all these are return type. You have to store in some variable. If you know return type methods how to call, then you are not going to make any mistakes. That's all Java. So it depends on Java only. You have a ready-made methods, how to call them. That's a web element methods, browser methods, switch to methods. Switch to means on the switch to you have to call that switch to dot window, switch to dot frame, switch to dot alert. Navigate methods means driver dot navigate, you have to chain the method. So that's called method chaining. The method name dot one more method, navigate dot two of URL, navigate dot back method, navigate dot forward method, navigate dot refresh method. So this you are chaining the methods. That's a method chaining we call that. Switch to methods after chaining one more method. So again navigate method after you are chaining the methods. So these are the methods. Understand the difference. Web element means driver dot find element must should come there. So there must be a driver dot find element. Later you can call web element method. Or you identify that web element, store in the web element variable. Then next line web element dot the method name you can call. All the action methods, whatever you want. But don't call again storing web element name equal to driver dot find element by dot locator. Later, don't call the action methods because you're identifying storing the web element. The find element only returns a web element. Here again, a Java concept. Return type methods, if you know, you won't make mistakes. Somebody I saw many people writing web element name equal to driver dot find element dot click, they will write. How wrong that is. Click is not a return type method, right? Click is a void method. It never returns a value to it. Just go and perform the click action. Even send keys method also doesn't return a value. Submit method also doesn't return a value. Clear method also doesn't return a value. Now return type methods are get text to, get attribute to, get CSS value, get location to, get size, get tag name. These methods returns a value for us. That's why you store in the variable. That's all. Some of them returning a string type value, some of them returning a point object, and some of them returning a dimension object. So this is all pure Java, nothing else. Complete Java and methods concept. Only methods concept. And that's why I realize that again, go and refer if you are not clear with the scenarios what we have practiced in Java. Okay, so clear? Any questions? Before going to the one more topic is there, simple topic. We'll finish that. Tomorrow we can start the coding directly. Boolean commands. So what is mean? Why you are calling Boolean methods or Boolean commands? These methods returns a Boolean value true or false to you. That's why you're calling Boolean methods. So is displayed. It checks whether the given element is present in the web page or not. You want to know first whether that element is present. Then you can do action. Without checking, you cannot go and do directly action on that element, right? So first check that, whether that is present or not in the web page. How can you check that? Is displayed method you have to call on that element. So first identify the element, web element name equal to driver dot find element by dot locator, locate value. See, find element after I am not writing anything. If I write a web element on the left side, that's a find element. Return type is a web element. That's why find element method return type I have written a web element, then element name, then driver dot find element. Driver is the object reference. So whichever the browser class object you are creating, that class object reference. Now, if the element is displayed, then do a true actions on that element, like click, send key. So whatever the action you want to do, you do that action. Else, false statements. So see all Java concepts again here. So control structure concept you are using. Based on that, you will write here the WebDriver code, the methods you are going to call, click, send keys, whatever you want. Next, is enabled. So it checks whether the given element is enabled or disabled. How do you know whether your element is enabled or disabled? If it is disabled, you cannot type, you cannot click, you cannot do any action. If it is enabled only, you can do action. Then how can you check that? You have to call is enabled method on that element. So first identify the element, web element, with element name equal to driver dot find element by dot locator, locate value. So this element I want to check whether it is enabled or disabled. So call in the if condition. If element dot is enabled, if it is enabled, I can type or I can do click action, whatever it is. On this element, you call element dot click or element dot send keys. So just the element you are going to call multiple times. That time you have to identify, store in a web element type variable. Then below the if condition, you call that element one dot action method. So how many action methods you want to see here? On the element we are calling is enabled method. So these are all web element Boolean methods. On web element only you can call these Boolean methods. Is selected method. It checks whether the checkbox is checked or unchecked. You want to know. You call is selected method on that checkbox element. You want to select a radio button. So you first check whether that radio button is selected or not. You call on that radio button is selected method. You want to choose whether drop down is selected an option or not. Then call on that drop down isSelected method. So isSelected method you can use for checkbox, drop-down, and radio button. All three elements you can use this isSelected method. But isEnabled to isDisplayed you can use for any element. It's just checking whether it is present or not, whether it is enabled or not, right? But this one is only for these three elements only. So I want to know whether my checkbox is checked or not. So first I will identify that checkbox. Web element, the checkbox name equal to driver.find element by locator value. Then if element dot is selected, if it is already checked, then don't do any actions if you want to check the checkbox. If you want to uncheck, okay, this is selected, this is checked already. Now call the click method one more time on that element. It will uncheck. Based on your requirement, you want to check or you want to uncheck. So based on that, the condition is true and do that action methods here. And else part you write remaining code. So this is the Boolean methods how to use. That's all the web element methods. The last one left for us is WebDriver wait commands. So what are all the WebDriver wait commands? Why do you need WebDriver wait commands? So WebDriver wait commands are, before going, let's see how to maximize the window. It is opening in maximized mode, right? Now you need to call single line of code, driver dot window method dot, driver dot manage method dot window method dot maximize. You need to call, what is that? Driver is the object reference dot manage method dot window method dot maximize method. You are maximizing your browser. That is the line of code you have to call. And you can find here how to maximize the window. So I don't want to show you again. So let's go to wait commands. Very, very important, this wait commands. So why do you need wait commands? Wait commands are mainly used to stop the WebDriver until my page loads, until my element appears in the web page. If you are not asking WebDriver to wait, and WebDriver will go and look for the element immediately. It doesn't wait. It's a very, very fast tool. And then your test case will result in failure. In order to avoid that, you need to use a wait commands in your automation code. Then the application and the tool will be in sync and both will understand and the action will happen on that elements properly. If both are not in sync, then you will get a timeout exception and all this synchronization issues, you will get it. So what are all the wait commands in the WebDriver? We have two wait commands. One is implicit wait and explicit wait. Implicit wait means, so implicit wait is going to tell WebDriver to poll for a particular amount of time when trying to find an element or elements if they are not immediately available. So because when page is loading time, the elements are not available. They are loading one by one. It takes some time. So in order to wait for that element, we need to use these wait commands. So the default setting is 0. Once set, the implicit wait is set for the life of the WebDriver object instance till end. So once you create implicit wait, the entire program you can use same implicit wait. Once you set on the top, same time is applicable for all lines of code. If it is necessary, then only WebDriver will wait there. Otherwise, implicit wait won't take. So, for example, you set a implicit wait 5 seconds. Next line, if necessary, 5 seconds it will take. If not necessary, even it doesn't take even single second also. It won't wait. If it is necessary, it will wait. But okay, third line you need a wait. So 5 seconds you kept. But in the third second, the element appeared. Next 2 seconds, it won't wait. It will skip automatically. It will move to next line. These are intelligent waits. When the element appears on that second, it will move to next line. It is not going to wait how many seconds you specified. It doesn't wait. So implicit wait means once you set the wait time, so that will be applicable for entire code, entire lines of code of that program. Until that WebDriver instance is available, and until that the wait command will be there. So that's the WebDriver wait command, the implicit wait command, how you need to know works it. So what is the syntax of implicit wait? Implicit wait you can set in the middle or in the beginning. If you set in the beginning, below that how many lines are there? All lines of code, same time is applicable. You don't need to set for each and every command. Once you set, same time is applicable for all lines of code. So driver dot manage method dot timeouts method dot implicitly wait of time, how much time you need to wait. You give that time, comma. You tell the time, what time measurements you want to give. Time unit dot seconds are, milliseconds are, minutes are, days are. So what is that? So that you can specify this thing. So these are the examples for implicit wait. So driver dot manage method dot timeouts method dot implicitly wait of 5 comma time unit dot seconds method you have to call. So if you want to mention milliseconds, so this is the one, driver dot manage method dot timeouts method dot implicitly wait of 5000 milliseconds. So comma time unit dot milliseconds, this one. So 1000 you multiply by 1000, that's a millisecond. That means 5 seconds only again. 5000 milliseconds is nothing but 5 seconds. So driver dot manage method dot timeouts method dot implicitly wait of 1 comma time unit dot minutes. Time unit dot minutes. So you can specify the minutes also. So this is the implicit wait concept. Okay, that's the implicit wait commands. You can use any one line only, just one liner you set, and that will be applicable for the till end of the program. So automatically you can change if you want. For example, first 10 lines you set one line, one implicit wait. Next 11th line onwards you want to increase your implicit wait, you can increase. Write one more line of implicit wait code and give your how much time you want. 10 seconds, you can increase the 10 seconds. So that's this implicit wait. Once you set, it will be applicable for the whole program. That's the implicit wait. So you don't need to set for each and every line. Once you set, that's enough. Automatically it will take for wherever necessary. If it is not necessary, it doesn't wait at all. Even nanoseconds also it doesn't wait. So that's the implicit wait. So what is explicit wait? So an explicit wait is a code that you define to wait for a certain condition to occur before proceeding further in the code. Certain condition to be met, then you can use explicit wait commands. So WebDriver wait by default calls the expected condition every 500 milliseconds until it returns successful. So there is a WebDriver wait is one of the explicit wait class. Explicit wait means particular condition you are looking. If that condition is satisfied, then that time is not applicable for the next lines of code. Only the specified amount of time is applicable for that condition only. Like my page is loading or not, I want to see. I want to wait for my page loading. Next, I want to wait for particular section is refreshing, AJAX calls. So you want to wait for AJAX call to be disappeared. So invisibility of that spinner, you can wait with this WebDriver wait, and this expected conditions class method, all are static methods. So expected conditions class inside, there are so many static methods are there. I can call them. And WebDriver wait is a class. You have to create object for that class. If you want to use this expected conditions class static methods to check your condition, to wait for your condition by the WebDriver. So here is the one. First create object for WebDriver wait. WebDriver wait equal to new WebDriver wait and driver comma time you specify. How much time you want to wait for that condition. So that time you specify. So this wait object dot until method you have to call. Until expected conditions dot all static method names you call. That's the static methods you call. So that's this expected conditions, class methods, how to call. And you can create even anonymous object also. New WebDriver wait, driver comma time dot until method. Mainly until method you have to call. Until method accepts expected conditions class static methods. Each static method is a one condition. Each static method of this class is a static method available in this class. That static method is one condition. It waits for particular condition. So that I'll explain tomorrow, all these class methods. So then we'll start tomorrow coding also. So one by one we'll see. Please read this. This is a very, very important interview question. So what is the difference between expected explicit wait and implicit wait? And that's the interview question. So these questions you please prepare for that. Any questions before stopping?